There is no right or wrong way to do things, but there's definitely a better way to do things. Here on Red Roof Family Farm, we grow flowers and veggies, which we sell down at our local farmers market and at a farm stand here on the farm. As we head into our 4th year farming, it's more important than ever that we find those better ways. Last year we had an employee, but this year we're refocusing the farm. Having an employee had a very real cost that didn't necessarily translate to more profit. Until we increase our sales, it's smarter to keep the labor to just Ian and I. But it doesn't mean we don't still want to get a lot done. So this year, we're all about tools.
Tools.
And specifically, the right tool. We've always seen the value of investing in tools on the farm, but this year we want to rethink how we approach the work and always prioritize what is the most efficient and the most gentle on our body. We aren't spring chickens anymore, but our plan is to farm until we die. So we have to come up with some better ways of doing things.
How do you like my new tool? The name of the game this year is efficiencies.
This can also beat down those fins.
Yeah, but I don't want you bringing that into the farm.
On the plant.
This year we don't have the employee. She's not coming back for us this year. It's just Serina and I, so we need to think of efficiencies. And one of the efficiencies that we're investing in is this hedge trimmer on a pole, which we're not using to cut up high, but we're going to use it to cut down low. At the end of the season, you know, there's all these perennials that need to be cut down before the new growth overtakes the old growth. And it's a very physical job to be cleaning that up. You have to be down on your hands and knees and cutting, and it takes a little while. But with this tool, it turns it into just a couple minutes of work that doesn't really take much effort. So it's kind of like it exemplifies what we're doing this year. We're investing in tools that make our life easy so that we can actually do more with less effort. You probably already garden, so you know it doesn't actually take that long to clean up all the dead stuff from last year's garden. But with this, like, maybe it's a bit faster, but what the big savings is just on the wear and tear on your body, which is like another aspect that we're really trying to pay attention to this year, just to be a little easier on our bodies so that we have more energy to do the things that we have to do. So, you know, I went through and I caught a bunch of this already, and it didn't take me very long, but maybe it wouldn't have taken me very long if I went around with hand pruners. But the point is, I'm gonna do it, and then I'm gonna be done, and I won't feel sore at all. But if I had done it by hand, maybe my knees would hurt, or my back would hurt, or I'd feel just tired. So this is just gonna make life easy, and we're trying to find all the things that we can possibly find to make our life easy this year. So that's what it's all about. And now that I got this done, it's time to move on to the next thing.
Another tool for efficiency is our sponsor Blinkist, which helps you understand powerful ideas in 15 minutes by condensing books into the key points called blinks, which you can read or listen to. I struggle with reading books, and I have no time because I'm always working on the farm. But Blinkist has 5,000 titles in 27 categories that are easy for me to consume. One of Serina's favorite authors is Malcolm Gladwell, and on Blinkist they have lots of his books. Last summer, Serina couldn't stop talking about one of his books, David and Goliath, which is a story about underdogs. In it, he takes the classic biblical tale and kind of flips the perspective on it and points out that David's ranged weapon was actually extremely powerful. And so this story that is like our perfect example of a story of an underdog is actually a story about the person winning who should have won. You know, David was the one who had the advantage in this fight. Without Blinkist, I never would have had a chance to read this book. And now I have an understanding of it, and it's led to, you know, conversations between Serina and I that I find really interesting.
They also have my favorite, which is talking to strangers.
Right now, Blinkist has a special offer just for our audience. Click the link in the description below to start your free 7-day trial with Blinkist and get 25% off a premium membership. Today we rented this sweet trencher that we're gonna use to finish our irrigation system. We're gonna run irrigation lines all over the farm and we're gonna have water everywhere. It's gonna be amazing. We've rented one of these trenchers before, but the much smaller version of it, and it was an absolute pain in the butt. It was so hard to move around. It was so frustrating. This one has nice long tracks on it so it can go over the ditches that it digs, and it's like powerful, and you just like stand on it. Has enough weight to go in all by itself. So we felt like it was the better deal just to spend a little bit more and make it way easier on our bodies. A couple years ago, we rented a stump grinder to grind a couple giant maple tree stumps that were along the roadside. And we just rented the small one because it was all rotty. I didn't think I needed something big, but it was so small and there was so much vibration in it that it made my finger numb, and there's still some numbness in that finger like all these years later. So, you know, sometimes it's easier just to get the better machine, even if it's like overkill, just because it's so much easier to use. It makes the job go by really quick. There's lots of ways that I could have dug this trench. I could have used my trenching shovel. I could have got the smaller trencher, but renting the biggest trencher is actually the most cost-effective way for me to get the job done, because it's almost zero wear and tear on my body, as opposed to, you know, like trenching with a shovel. Obviously not what I do, but even the smaller trencher, it would have cost me, you know, another day where I would have been sore and tired. And this one is just gonna leave me, you know, feeling good. So, you know, you really have to think about what is the right tool. It's not just a trencher is a trencher. You know, there's different levels of tools too that you have to think which one is the right one. I usually, because I love tools, I usually pick the nicer tool because I like using nice tools, but that's me. We're gonna extend this 1.5 inch supply line that comes all the way down from the top of the property there. Comes basically in a straight line right down here, and then it stops. So I'm gonna go further down with it. I'm also going to go across with it over there for the expanded farm area, and then we're gonna run this 1.5 inch pipe all down these ditches.
It's tomato potting up time. My babies are ready. I have 2 trays already potted up. I've been putting them into these little pots and they look pretty good. I'm pretty happy with them. We're gonna have many tomatoes because these are just for us. No seedling sales this year. 1 million tomatoes just for me. These tomatoes are about 2 weeks old now. I showed them looking very sad in our last video. They spent too much time in the germination chamber and they came out super leggy, but I popped them under lights and they've mostly survived. They aren't ideal because if you can see, there is a lot of stem there before it comes to the leaves. But it's fairly simple to fix that on tomatoes because tomatoes actually grow roots on their stems as long as they're buried. So when I'm potting these up, I'm just placing all that stem down in the dirt. These are pretty leggy tomatoes. They were so far gone that some actually died. The stems were so long that they kind of just fell over and they pinched and the plants never grew. Some of them, they fell over into like dirt beside it and actually rooted down. So they're like rooted into multiple places. But I had about 60% of the seedlings survive and I started way too many tomatoes. So we're still good to go. We'll still have our 200 tomato plants or whatever it is I decide to put in the garden. Gotta say a thank you to everyone in the comments on the last video for all of your encouraging words. I was really bummed about the tomatoes. I didn't know that they were going to survive.
Look at that. Perfection.
No one would know how badly I messed them up. The rooted, side-rooted ones.
That's funny.
One of the problems with this having happened with the tomatoes is they're so threaded together because the stems were so long that they're kind of a pain.
Why are you using paper pots?
So we always used plastic pots for our own seedlings because these are just pots that I've had for years and years. The reason why we used paper pots for the seedling sale is I felt really bad about sending all of that plastic garbage out into the world because if you're buying tomato seedlings, you're not using your pots year after year. So it just goes a lot faster into the plastic. These also this is a small pot. The paper pots are more similar to kind of like a 4-inch and then extra deep. So when I'm potting them into here, they're probably only gonna have 2 weeks before it's time to plant them out. When I potted them into those big oversized paper pots, they stayed in the pots for a month, which is, you know, the kind of perfect timing for the seedling sale. These I only need to grow for 2 more weeks because we have a greenhouse. So I actually will be planting these a lot earlier than when I would if I was planting them outside, and I had to worry about when my last frost is gonna be. I still love paper pots though. You should check out a video. I'll put a tab to learn all about how to make them yourself.
What's the technique? Grab tomato plant, put dirt in.
I like to work with the dry dirt because it's a lot easier for handling. But then you gotta make sure that you water them really good after, or else your sad little transplants will die.
Takes a lot more water to wet that dry dirt than you might expect.
Takes a lot of water. So what do you think, Ian? What's the correct number of tomatoes for us to grow on our farm?
For us
Just for us.
Well, we used to grow 50 tomatoes for us at our old house. So 75?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many altogether?
300.
300?
Yeah.
We're not selling tomatoes this year.
Yeah, we're gonna sell cherry tomatoes. This rented skid steer. People are always telling us we should buy a skid steer or a tractor, and we tried that. I did buy a tractor when we first moved here, and that was a big mistake. You know, we just don't have a need for a machine this big all times. So, you know, what are we gonna do? Spend 20 or 30 grand on a machine like this when I could just rent it for $300 a day. I use it once or maybe twice a year. I get all the work that I need done with it. And then, you know, I just move on. And I don't have to worry about, oh, I haven't started it in 3 months. Is the battery going to be okay? Or, you know, like problems with it from just sitting and leaks happening. So we've talked a lot about what the right tool is. And sometimes the right tool isn't, you know, something that you buy. Sometimes the right tool is something that you need to rent. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to move that pile. And I've got a few other small tasks to do around the farm. These are all stumps and rocks from this big area of farm that we're expanding into this year. And last week I had a trencher that we rented as well. And I trenched in both directions this whole area, and I dug up all of these big rocks and all of these old cherry stumps and Chinese elm saplings. So now I just have to clean up the rocks. Instead of using wheelbarrow, I'm using the skid steer. So once I get this load done, then I'm gonna start moving dirt. This just looks like a big patch of dirt, but to me, it feels like a really big accomplishment because this wasn't a very intimidating section of farm. And now I've done all the hard work. So I'm feeling really good about that. It feels nice to be on the other side of this project that was giving me stress. And now essentially, we've opened up all the farm space that we're going to grow in for the entire farm forever. So I don't have to worry about, you know, digging out those big rocks anymore and all of that stuff that's really hard when you're first opening up new areas. So it just feels exciting to be seeing the farm in what I perceive it to be its like final form. It's getting close.
Disaster on the farm. I just checked the weather, and tonight it's saying it's gonna get down to -7 with the wind chill, which is crazy cold. It's afternoon and my hands are freezing. It's, you know, it's easy to believe it's not going to be good weather tonight. And unfortunately, we have all of this ranunculus that's out in the field. Ranunculus is pretty cold hardy, but -7 is really cold. There's a few spots that have been looking kind of sad. We have been getting nights down to -2, and it's affecting it a little bit. The amount of damage that they have, I'm not too worried about, but there's a big difference between -2 and -7, so tonight we need to put in the effort. We need to set up some low tunnels on here and cover this for the night to just keep it that little bit warmer and keep some of that really cold wind off of them.
I counted, there's 4,970 tulips in here. It's not too bad.
It looks pretty good.
This is our pile of low tunnels. So, time to load up. Nice and awkward. This is a job that needs lots.
I have a bunch of plants inside right now. In the same way that it's been so cold out that we needed to put a tunnel over the ranunculus, it's also so cold out that some of our seedlings that had been living outside needed to come back in for these nights. I have some very sad status. Apparently status is not quite as cold hardy as straw flower. I still have the straw flower outside and it's very happy, but we had a night that got down to -2 and the status discolored. It went kind of red, getting stressed out from the cold nights. So it's, you know, it doesn't like being inside, but it likes it a lot better than being outside. What we really wanted to show you in this video was planting out some of these seedlings with our most exciting new tool of the year, which is our stand-in plant. This tool we've been talking about for a year, and it's finally time. What it's for is for planting seedlings. So instead of having to crawl around on the ground, popping each seedling in at a time, or completely bent over to reach down to the ground, all we have to do is stab this into the dirt, squeeze the trigger to open up, to release a transplant, pull it out, the dirt falls back in. We're really excited to see how this is gonna work. I suspect it's gonna give me carpal tunnel to do this all day against the pressure of the dirt, but Ian has incredibly strong hands and he's not very delicate at handling seedlings. So I'll be on seedling drop while Ian will be on stand-in plant duty. And I think together the two of us are gonna power through the seedlings this year. I think it's gonna be transformative for the farm and the way that we're gonna be able to get through with just the two of us.
Y'all have no idea how hard we looked to try to find this. We were searching for like a year trying to find a place that had one in stock. And we finally got one last year. So we are really excited to try it out this spring. The weather has not been cooperating, but after the next couple days, supposed to get really warm, and we're off to the races, so we can start planting all this stuff out. So, I'm really excited to try it out. Look, it doesn't even have any marks on it yet. It hasn't even gotten dirty yet. So this is just a teaser for what we're going to show you next week. Who's the right tool for the job? I am.
Big thank you to our sponsor, Blinkist, and they have a special offer just for you guys. Check out the link down below in the description. Start your free 7-day trial with Blinkist and get 25% off a premium membership.